It's Monday night, 8 o'clock p.m. We've been doing it since 2000 at this hour. Dialogue with Dozell. So glad you're here. I'm repping my alma mater tonight. Just got off that hot football field and ready to do this thing. We got some hot stuff to talk about it. And KV is on assignment again tonight. Hopefully he'll be a little bit more freed up after next week. But we kind of talking about something that he and I started a few weeks ago. Is going to be one of our topics tonight. Riding shotgun with me is my good friend, my dear brother. He just finished. I'm gonna let him tell you a little bit about what his show was about tonight. And he was kind enough to join me. Pastor Anthony Burrell. Dr. Burrell, how you doing, sir?
Doc, I am doing fine. Thank you for inviting me to be on here tonight. We've already talked about one of the topics you talked about, so it's a to be continued as far as Ja Morant is concerned. So we're excited about being able to join you on Dialogue with Dozell this evening.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, sir. So you just heard what one of the topics we'll probably be talking about coming out of the mid break. But we're going to start out by talking about something that we devoted a whole show to, and our leader, our civil rights activist, and she who put her own life on the line, who integrated a Florida high school. Dr. LaVon Bracey came on and talked about the laws that Tallahassee has passed for the session that just ended, and the impact that it's going to have on all of us. And one of the late ones that just came out just before the legislature ended their session was a lot of textbook companies were trying to get into the state with their new social studies textbook, and they faced serious censoring. And that's what, Pastor, we're going to start out talking about tonight. The social studies censoring of books done by, we like to refer to him as Governor Despicable. What he has done to us tonight, and that's what we're going to talk about. I don't know if you're aware, but textbook companies bid to have their books pass the Board of Education so that they can be used by local boards of education throughout the state. And there is a litmus test for social studies books this year that they can't mention anything, I mean anything, that could be in any way interpreted as civil rights, as human rights almost, in any of the contemporary things that this generation is used to. It was just the 2020 during the pandemic that we learned of the horrific killing there in Georgia, and then lo and behold, when we were just being advised of that, the George Floyd situation hit. None of that can be printed in Florida textbooks, social studies books. And Pastor Burrell and I are going to discuss that tonight. We hope you'll hop on and share your opinion along with us, either on Facebook or YouTube. We actually we do monitor the Facebook. We're not telling you which platform to use, but if you think you're going to have a propensity to go back and forth with us, and we certainly use your comments, then we use those from Facebook. They're the easiest for us to get to. Pastor, what is your knowledge of what they're doing with these textbooks?
Well, Dozell, we just had the state legislature pass barring any support for inclusion, equity, and diversity. So it's a sign of the times. And the thing that immediately comes to my mind is our church is going to have to step up and fill in the gap. Amen. We have all of the opportunity to be able to continue to teach Black history, to continue to say what is our history. And we just finished Black History Month. And it's a shame, boy, we almost need a second month of it, because we need that opportunity to be able to put out front, the things that have taken place, the things that have occurred, even right here in our own beloved state. So rather than us, and thank God for Dr. Bracey and others like her, thank God for those troops on the front line who they haven't just started fighting this battle. They've been fighting it a long time. And they understand just how critical the battle is. And we need to make sure that we're doing our part, Pastor Varner, in being able to counteract and to combat what's being literally shoved down our throats.
I just read that byline, and it's last Tuesday, legislature, there were 37 books that were actually textbooks that were banned, and there were another group that were told that in order for them to be considered, that they would in fact have to, 47 would need to be edited in order to be considered for purchasing in Florida's boards of education. Anything that deals with Black Lives Matters, the murder of George Floyd, and then there's a listing of things that we'll get into in a minute. But I'm interested in what you said about the churches having to step up and do this role. And I'm just wondering, I'm personally challenging my church as a church without walls. I think I want to talk about partnering that is not only it's okay. I lost for a second. Okay, it's not just the churches, but that the churches will partner with community service organizations such as fraternities and the like to structure education, because I don't we kind of had a conversation you and I earlier about church attendance, and we know church attendance prior to the pandemic was not what it used to be, and it's certainly not now. So what groups can come together and put together a structure that parents would send their children to for education on things that the pick up where the districts are dropping off?
Dozell, it starts with the family, man. I'm one of those old school people. And I mean, hey, nobody can censor what you teach in your home. In many cases, we've simply dropped the ball. So it's up to us to make sure that our children get to learn about Harry T. Moore, whose house was bombed on Christmas Day.
Yes.
And he and his wife both ended up dying. That's right here in Florida.
I think you were with me when I did the show. We did a Faith in Florida event at the Harry T. Moore Center, which is right on the grounds. And I passed that trail on 95 so many years for as long as we've been living here, for sure, and never knew it existed. And it was a very eye-opening education. But Harry T. Moore is, I mean, if we think in the terms of our youth today, they will look at that as, you say Harry T. Moore, they say, did he know Harriet Tubman? They look at Dr. King, who you and I saw growing up as contemporaries, or in the generation above us. Our kids today, having recently retired, I know how they look at the prior generation. But George Floyd just occurred 2 years ago. The proliferation of Black Lives Matter bringing things to the forefront was big a few years ago. How do we get that into households in a structured manner? How do we do that? We're
fighting a tough battle, Pastor Varner.
Dozell.
And I know
Dozell,
it's so easy. It's so easy to watch reality TV. Love and hip hop and Basketball Wives and on, stuff of that genre. And when you go to work and you gather around the coffee pot or the water cooler, to that be the subject of discussion. I remember a few years back, what was the show Kerry Washington was in with the president?
Scandal.
Man, I remember seeing preachers, pastors, who posted on here that they had to make an adjustment to their Bible study because they had to catch scandal. And so
why are you messing with me, man? I wasn't that bad of a scandalholic. I knew about a DVR.
Yeah, well, listen. Every time I saw it, I said, are they trying to hit at George W. Bush and Condoleezza Rice? You know? But that's immediately what, came to my mind. And Kerry Washington, bad sister, Doc. Yeah. Boy, that thing was real, boy. So, but again, I'm saying, you can't make people choose the good over the bad. Because sometimes, I don't know if it's our fallen sinful nature or whatever, we're going to choose the bad. You know what I mean? I want to choose, rather than the things of God, the things of the world. So again, we got our work cut out for us. And man, I tell you, outside of our homes, if it's not happening in the church, let's back up one step further. You know what I mean? Even if you take your fraternities, Kappa Alpha Psi, the Kappa League, and the Lamplighters with the Omegas, and Men of Tomorrow with the Alphas, and I think Phi Beta Sigma is the Beta Sigma Club, whoever. Doctor, the participation in those groups is minuscule compared to who we need to and ought to reach. So if we said the fraternities and the sororities and the churches, yeah, we got to be so careful, because my wife's a retired school teacher. Boy, you want to get my wife hot, you let her get in a discussion with some people who are talking about, well, they supposed to be, the school is supposed to be doing that. She look at them like, no, you supposed to be doing that. You know what I'm saying? So we've gotten comfortable at passing the buck.
Well, so she and I, we share, we're church people. We share what we perceive to be the mission of the church. It should be the center of the community. It's not that anymore. I mean, we want to be just realistic about it. But so a few years ago, we were faced with, the government had to come up with incentives to get people to get vaccinated when the COVID outbreak hit America. So what can we do to provide incentives and bring the right partnerships together to get as many people? It's a shame you got to talk about bribing, giving little Jimmy a movie ticket, or giving sister girl a $25, $100 gift certificate to the ladies' dressing store. And I'm just out there just throwing it off to attend 5 sessions on African American history, or what should be American history. What you really have to think out the box to get this thing accomplished. And I'm out there. I'm retired, but I'm still with the high school kids. And when I talk to them about voting, some of them say, "Vote for who? Vote for what?" I said, "Man, vote that we get rid of homelessness. That we make initiatives to help with homelessness. Vote that we can put people in offices that can look at this textbook issue and not take out things that you need to know about what just happened, not ancient history, what just happened." And there's a spirit of apathy that you would not believe. And so it's not like the elementary kids that your wife and I taught. These are high school kids who are a minute from venturing out into the world. And so, I mean, the reality is we almost got to talk incentives. And I didn't come on here to say we got to go and find corporations to join us so that we can have incentives to bring people in to tell them about their history. But that's the reality. If we want them to know, it'll only get worse if we never start teaching now. I mean,
Dozell, again, it's in our hands, man. It's in our hands. All four of my children attended Walker Elementary School, right in the middle of the hood, you know, on 4th Street here in Fort Lauderdale.
I had your daughter in my class that one year.
Yeah. And
no, she was across the hall. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so and the school is named Walker, but who was Clarence Walker? You know what I mean? Clarence Walker was a man who fought that black kids could go to school year round and not be forced out of the classroom to go pick somebody's beans.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
I mean, is nobody gonna come, you know, accost you in the middle of the street and say, you need to know who Clarence Walker is. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. That's Fort Lauderdale. I passed it almost 13 years in Pompano. You know, how do you not know who Blanche, I know her whole name, but how do you not know who Blanche Healy is?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, the first school named after a woman in the state of Florida, not black or white, polka dot, any color. You know what I mean?
Wow.
School named after the woman while she was still alive and still presiding as principal at that school. And how that school was closed. It was closed. Those kids were sent to Pompano Beach High School all over the place. And thank God for those people like Professor Ely and Purcell Houston, and man, I'm trying to think of her name, her right hand person. But there were people, man, who put their livelihoods, they put their careers on the line to fight for these things. And those are here we are, Martin Luther King. I mean, I know you and I are news junkies, but don't know no Eric Garner, no Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland. Yeah. You know, now we sit here and say, call the roll. Man, these people have no sense of meaning to the average young person we run into every day, day in, day out. Those guys that you see on that football field every day. You know what I mean? Now, what do they know? They know the latest rap person. You know what I mean? They know bumper to bumper to bump, boom, 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 boom. They know that. So
I mean, but even starting there, there's newsworthiness to be used in that. So I was just about to put you on the spot, and to our audience, he and I, he's just coming off of his show. You see me drinking, and I know Madam Producer does not allow that. I'm drinking cold ice water. I'm 2 hours off the football field. I've been in the air conditioner. I've been in the shower, and I'm trying to fight this sweat still. So that's just how we have not had a chance to do a whole lot of collaboration. But I'm gonna put you on the spot, Doc. Were I to say to you, hypothetically, if we were to put together a 6-week course over the summer, or let's say a 4-week course over the summer for kids that are entering high school, what would be some of the things, social studies wise, do you think that they would need to know that would equip them to make up the deficit that the state is depriving them of knowing?
Those are you can start relatively, I say small in a sense, you know, because a person might not read a 600-page textbook, The Definitive History of African Americans from Slavery to Freedom by John Hope Franklin. They may not read that, but if I can take the average child and get them to read chains, psychological chains of and images of slavery by Naeem Akbar. Here's a man who served as a professor at Florida State University in Tallahassee.
Right.
The book is only 75 to 80 pages long. You know what I'm saying? That we could use a simple book like that as the curriculum, you know, because of it's so short. But I tell you what, kids' minds would be awakened because they would be exposed to ideas of some of the stereotypes in that little short book. Now, stereotypes of black folk always entertaining, always clowning. The very fact that you mentioned in its title the word slavery, we got to understand slavery in America, all right, and the repercussions of it that still exist until today. You know, he deals with those in the first half of the book, and then the second half of the book, he is a member of he practices the Muslim faith, but he talks about the overwhelming imagery of the white Jesus, God being white. Man, this just happened a few years ago. Megyn Kelly was big whoop-de-doo at Fox. She moved over to MSNBC, got a great big $60+ million contract. And she didn't get started because she got booted off TV. But this woman was on TV, Dozell, just a few years ago. And I said few, no more than 3-4 years ago. And her contention and argument was Jesus is white and Santa Claus is white.
Yeah.
You know, this man talks in the book about the racist imagery and portrayal of God. You know, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Commandment number 2, thou shalt not make any graven images. You ain't got to convince me that God is white and he has long, flowing blonde hair and blue eyes. People who live in the area around the Mediterranean Sea are not blonde hair and blue eyes.
Right.
It's just not. So, Dozell, you know what? I remember as a child, now I'm dating myself, but you remember when a department store, it could be downtown Jacksonville or downtown Richmond, Virginia. The department store had everything, including a book section.
Right.
I bought the book. My mom bought it for me. I just checked it out. I picked it up. And the book by Howard Griffin was entitled Black Like Me.
That
book revolutionized my thinking, Dozell, because I read the book. He was a white man who had his skin tanned and darkened and everything. And he spent time hitchhiking all throughout the South and was subject to all kinds of racial stereotypes.
Yeah.
Man, that book opened my eyes as if I didn't already know it. You know what I mean? I had people tell me that Virginia is not in the South. I tell them, yeah, it may not have been in the South, but the capital of the Confederacy was there.
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, so, and forgive me, I'm just thinking a little bit more contemporarily out of the box, and going on the sad reality that our kids don't read. You have a passion to read. When there's an interest of mine to read, I'll read it. But that's just one of the things that's lost on us. Let's just face that reality. But you were talking earlier about you're talking about rap and hip hop and that being our kids' interest. Well, I mean, I pick up there. That would be a starting point for a curriculum, because we have had some things that happened in the last 2 years. Nick Cannon was booted off the air and taken from the franchise of Wilding Out. Highly popular, makes his company a lot of money. He was pulled away because of because of comments he made that were looked at as Semitic. He did that, and Kanye West went from a billionaire status to just barely being able to hold on as a millionaire. So these are things that can teach a whole lot of lessons for a high school student. Math is very much involved. Social status is involved. Political power, because money buys power. The Koch brothers Do we know what the Koch brothers do? You probably do. You're an avid reader. But do we know where their fortune is from? But one thing we do know, we know that they fund Republican politics. So these are the kinds of things that I think that our young people, that we could engage them at a point of something that they do like and that they are aware of, to broaden their horizons and say, guys, it's bigger than this. It's far bigger than this. We can't even, you can't even read this in a textbook in class anymore, because that's deemed as making somebody feel bad. I'm just thinking, it'd be interesting to get some of Fort Lauderdale's finest young, it don't have to be young, but thinkers, and pull together a session and say, how can we attack this problem? How can we fill this deficit? How far do you think we go if we thought like that, Doc?
Dozell, man, listen, we got to be creative, man. We got to be creative. I mentioned chains and images of psychological slavery. When you're talking about rap music, Michael Eric Dyson, Between God and Gangster Rap.
Right.
There's some excellent material out
Right.
here. You know,
Right.
if I were doing a class from Naeem Akbar's book and somebody else was doing a class from Michael Eric Dyson's book, you know, my wife would really get on me when I said, somebody once said, if you want to hide something from black people, put it in a book. No, if you want to hide it from anybody, you want to hide it from anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just where we are. But, you know, between those different organizations I mentioned, between our churches, you know what I mean? Having a think tank with us being able to say, I'm going to, it's hard to get the book now. The book's out of print. I think it's reprinted, Naeem Akbar's book, but an 80-page book. And man, listen, I'm all for, if I got 15 or 20 kids, I'd be responsible for buying the books.
Okay.
I'd get the books.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna tell them you got to go get the book. I get you the book. You know what I mean? And us getting an opportunity to walk through it. You know, the only thing with Between God and Gangster Rap, it's dated because the book is more than 10 years old, maybe almost 15 years old. You know what I mean? So I don't know if he's written a new and improved or revised version and stuff, but the opportunities for us to do some of these things are as wide as us just being able to use our creative minds to say, here is something that I think might be able to engage these young people, you know what I mean, to get their minds to, and you know, you mentioned sponsorship or whatever, we could get some local businesses or something. And I'm thinking about, I ain't putting them on the spot, but shoot, I'm, you know, to be able to get a Bobby Henry, publisher of the West Side Gazette. Y'all finish this class on either the two books, and other people have other things like that. We're gonna give y'all we're gonna give y'all a trip to the Florida Marlins game. Okay. The other week when I went with the group that I was a part of, man, we didn't set out in the bleachers, Dozell. Amen. We were in the suite, Doc. We were in the suite watching the game on the field. TV to my left was the Florida Panthers playing hockey, you know, who have advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals. TV to my right was the Miami Heat, who have advanced to the finals of the conference. And then, man, the food at these sporting events can be astronomical. It's prohibitive.
Right.
But when you're in the suite,
right,
Doc, all of that was provided. And you know something, Dozell? It changes your children's life. You and I've talked about how your family traveled. You traveled. That opens up your eyes. Man, when my kids were coming along, I did my best to expose them to everything.
Yeah.
They've gone to a Panthers hockey game. They've gone to a Heat basketball game. They've gone to a Dolphins football game. They've gone to a Marlins baseball game. They've gone to a professional golf tournament. Took my son down to Burrell, and he's a little boy, you know what I'm saying? He just getting a little tired. Go, Daddy, I thought we were going to see Tiger Woods. Dozell, Tiger Woods was standing less than 10 feet from us.
Okay.
He was standing right there, waiting his turn to hit off of the tee box. And, you know, I'm sitting there reminding my son that, son, it's quiet.
Now, we're going to pick this up for, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. I was just saying, Doctor, there's some stuff that if you don't do it for your child and your family, you can't expect somebody else to pick up the ball you dropped and do it for you. So, with that being said, that we're gonna carry this over about 8 minutes until the other side of the hour after this break, and then we're going to another hot topic. Thank you, Dr. Burrell. We'll be right back. GoGigaWorld.com. They're the ones who make us look good. They can make this face look good. They'll certainly make your presentation a great one. They do web building. They do anything virtual. GoGigaWorld.com. Check it out. Normally, this is the time when we're pointing the fingers at somebody like Reverend Al used to say, "I got you." We do "Are you serious?" Or we'll do a dang dog, or we do a shout out. Governor Ron, despicable. You're getting off easy tonight because of my scheduling, only because of that. Pastor, when you were talking about incentives, you know, and then you mentioned travel. I'm a 501(c)(3) that's cut out to do, you know, to go ahead and start get that kind of thing off the road. It's just got to just make the time. I'm not beyond if your kid attends a 6-week course, and it could be throughout the school, it could be an 8-week course. Your child attends an 8-week course and has put forth the requirements, and the requirements would be, I'm not going to say minimal, but it would be the attendance and the effort and a project based or something in that nature. Then we'll pull together the funders that will take your child on a civil rights tour to Atlanta, maybe the Civil Rights Museum in Washington, D.C. I'm thinking big like that because I'm just that concerned. And so when you and I sit down and pull together this think tank, we're gonna put all of these ideas on the table and make it happen. Let's shift gears to the other side of this coin. What can we do to force somebody's hand that they can't just strip us of what seemingly are human rights? What can we do? I mean, is it a legal issue? Is it something that the NAACP can take to the courts? I mean, I'm not, and I know you're not a lawyer, but just from your experiences, what would you think would be some issues that he's not going to be out of office for the next 3 years, and his ilk will be there, and by the grace of God, pleased that he would never see the White House. I mean, I know we felt that way tonight that 46 or 45 was elected. And God, you know, we made it. We didn't just crumble as a society, but boy, we sure took some giant steps backwards. What are some legal things, or what are some ways that you think, in view of the current political domination that party and that ideology has, what are some legal issues? What are some things that we can do to fight the status quo now? I mean, we understand we got to go out and do stuff on our own, but what can we do to fight the way it is now? Continue to do what you're doing. Try to register every possible person to go vote. that you can. Man, my way, I thank God for being a Christian, that Jesus Christ is my Savior. And I'm able to make some of my greatest headway is when I run into people, especially my white brothers and sisters who also name the name of Jesus Christ, to help them to understand just how unfair it is. The person who can say that they love the Lord and to do all of the underhanded kind of things, instead of making it easy to vote, make it harder to vote. Okay, if you are in line to vote, you can't give somebody a cup of water. And Jesus said, if you give a cup of cold water in my name, you will not lose your reward. A senior citizen out there to vote, and you can't give them a chair to sit down in as the line snakes its way toward the polling place. You know what I mean? I think some of it is just basically helping people to see that, you can't tell me you love God and you participate in this underhanded kind of stuff that's taking place right in front of our very own eyes.
I mean, so you and I have this conversation all the time, and I'm over the fact that they're the supreme hypocrites, that party who pushes those things, but yet, and I'm trying not to call names or point fingers, but the denominations that support them are the supreme hypocrites, and they allow it, and they purport it, and so here we are. We're suffering because of it. So what can we do? We're not able to win at the ballot. We don't have the numbers. This is what we're stuck with. They have just made a mockery of laws and made a mockery of it's just everybody's. We were gathered on a Zoom call the other day, and people who were highly connected say this is the most repressive legislative session that just ended since the late 50s and early 60s, when people were becoming civil rights conscious and trying to say, okay, we know this is a train that's coming, we better get ready for it. That clock has been turned back, and the ball is now moving further and further in the negative direction. What can we do? We picketed. The Panthers burned, they killed. The Panther, the Nation of Islam became sacred, pull away from it. I think we're probably here to say that some of those things may not be an option. So in today's society, what else can we do? What else can we do? We gotta self-educate. We understand that.
Amen.
What else can we do? You can't give up hope.
Yeah. Keep hope alive.
We gotta do that, but
we gotta pray. You know what I'm saying? God, throughout history, God has seen his people with their backs against the wall. And when he has, he may not have come, old folks said when we want him, but he was on time. Heard a preacher preaching the story of Esther, said Esther, that little nappy-headed girl from the ghetto, you know what I mean? Who had to be confronted by her uncle Mordecai and said, don't think that you're going to escape. Who knows that you've come to the kingdom for right. Such a time as this.
Right.
And she did what was necessary and had to be done. And boy, I know a whole lot of Bible verses, but one that just resonates with me is Esther chapter 7, verse 10. And Haman was hanged on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Amen.
Yeah, I just, and I'm a preacher, so Lord knows I'm not being anti-theological. I'm just I just see theological threads in everything that I saw that helped to turn the racial climate in America around in the 60s. There was a theological thread to picketing. There was a theological thread to bombing. I'm sorry. There was a theological thread to building your own. And I'm just wondering, how do we take some of these things that have proven to be successful and helped us as a people to make strides? How can we pull them and dip them in 2023 and help our society? I don't know. We're gonna switch gears, and I don't want to leave that feeling helpless, but it is frustrating. And for me, frustrating either means retreat or be repulsive to the system. And if that Dozell Varner Senior in me makes me want to be repulsive to the system, because that's the only way that change happens. But we'll say that for another day. The other big story, and it's I had to tell my mom it's not just sports related, it's more societal. Ja Morant, for the second time in less than 2 months, has been seen on social media live with a gun. And the first time, it was almost as though it was a joke the way it was dealt with. They set him aside, polished him off, brought him back right in front of, just in time for the playoffs. And when he was eliminated from the playoffs,
first round,
he was asked, and it was not all his fault. There were injuries on the team, major injuries, and there was just a lack of cohesion. There was a lot of factors, and the fact that the Lakers were trending upward, man. They just eliminated my Warriors because I think that's a team that's ready to go and claim a crown. But he said in the post-game interview that there's a lot of things that he needs to do as a leader, and much of them were off the field. He sounded good. Sounded like somebody who had come to Florida and spent 3 weeks, I think it was, in counseling, inpatient supposedly for what we thought was alcoholic symptoms, which led to narcissistic and other crazed out behaviors. But wow, less than a week from being eliminated, 2 weeks from being eliminated from the playoffs, here he is again, Instagram live, brandishing a gun. And I'll just tell you from the beginning where I feel. I think the NBA is totally devoid of stones if Ja Morant is not suspended for a year. What say you, sir?
Dozell, my heart goes out for the young man, because where else can a black man make $40 million a year? Kind of contract he has. And you don't have enough going on with you that you just turn your back on that and throw it away. Just throw it away. You know, we had a similar incident in the state of my birth, Virginia, when Michael Vick owned a home in which dogs were being bred and trained to fight. Now, Dozell, you know, and I know, my name wouldn't have been nowhere near the deed of that house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, what's I'm just, of course, it's been a few years now that happened, but a $250,000 house with the kind of money he was making, look how much he lost as a result of that whole fiasco. So the same thing. And I was trying to applaud the fact that Ja Morant has his father active in his life. But
he's active, but
yeah, but daddy is not a real dad, because daddy is going with him to strip clubs, you know, and all of the crazy stuff. You know, why can't we take our home and we could set up a TV screen that'll fill the whole wall, you know, and sound system and all of that, but that ain't in you, you know. I understand. I heard there was one incident, one opportunity when this whole thing of making it rain.
Right.
Well, making it rain is, I guess, throwing all them $1 bills up in the strip club. But he had one incident, Dozell, where I'm told that one night he gave away $50,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I see you with your hand on your chin, Doc. That's some serious making it rain.
At the risk of sounding like a tyrant, my thing is that there are two dynamics. Number one, he has not learned. I'm sure you know he recently lost $40 million, or 39 exact, for not of bonus money for not having been selected on one of the top three NBA first, second, third all NBA teams for the year. And you know Ja Morant's talent. I mean, I went into, after seeing what he did to my Warriors last year, I just started seeing him last year. I say, man, this kid is going to be the next Jordan and LeBron. I see him as the next face of the NBA, talent-wise. When Jordan was having his gambling issues, you cannot tell me, I won't go as far as say that he took time off because of the, I'll take his word in the Last Dance and the NBA's word that they didn't push him out of the league for a year to go get his gambling house clean. But you can't tell me that he didn't get pressure from the league because of that image of what it was doing to the league. Now, in this day of gang violence, and this day of mass shootings, apparently he has not gotten the memo. And that little window dressing that they did at the end of the regular season, that was only enough that he basically laughed at. So I'm not thinking about him. Yet you're right. His dad is not what the dad should be, and neither is he getting that from his mother, because his mother put him in two instances, supposedly twice. She called him when things she didn't like, that was service she didn't like from a sports authority, a sports store. She didn't like the service. She called Ja. He took an entourage of about 12 people, I understand that. He ended up locked the kid to run into a room and lock himself up for an hour. And then after they finished threatening him, they went out and the security guard threatened him. And Ja allegedly told him himself, "I'll be here when you get off." So why would you put your son who's able to bring $40 million to the table a year? Why would you put him in that position? Seeing that he's weak, 23 years old, he's beyond weak. He is nowhere near mature. You talked the rap songs earlier. In fact, by the way, at the end of the year, after he had in the playoffs, one of the playoffs victories, he photobombed one of his teammates and cited the words of one of the rap songs that talked about carrying the iron, which is word for carrying the gun. After he's come back and supposed to go through his little rehab. So he hadn't learned. So let's just wipe him out of the equation. But how responsible is the NBA going to be about this? Memphis did their window dressing. They immediately suspended him. That's a big deal. Wow, because it's the off season. You suspended him from all team activities. What is he doing? He's already had his exit interview. What is he doing? He's not in preseason workouts. What is he doing? I'm putting the onus on the NBA and saying that he needs to go for a year and that he has to go through certifiable rehab and come back and whatever the panel is, or whoever the authority would be, and whoever the what's the word I'm looking for? The professional people that would be able to gauge if he has rehabbed enough. I think it caused it. That signal needs to go, because one of the Shannon Sharp or one of them mentioned today that when Jordan finally retired, the league didn't fall apart. When Kobe retired, the league didn't fall apart. When Bill Russell left basketball, the NBA continued on. When Magic retired, prematurely, the league continued. And so you mean to tell me we have a 23-year-old kid who is trending negatively, but taking the image of the NBA, which is my favorite sports league, taking it down, that there's nothing, that nobody's going to take drastic actions to turn. Am I throwing Jar away? Absolutely not. That's not my intention. But it's going to take something drastic to get the attention of his handlers, which we can't consider his parents at this part. I don't know how much influence his agent has. You just cost him 3% or 4% of $40 million by not getting selected on those teams, and it was clearly because of his off-the-field action. I've said enough. Let me hear you, Doc.
Well, Dozell, again, my heart goes out for the brother because he just does not understand the magnitude of what's going on. You know?
You think he's just using lip service?
$40 million a year, Dozell. We're talking generational wealth. Dozell, you could take 1/10 of that or 100th of that. You know, Dozell, if you or I had access to $400,000 cash right now, Doc, we would, in the words of good old people from Georgia, we would say, boy, we socked.
We'd be in some tall cotton, wouldn't we?
Well, and then you see somebody just, I mean, help us, Lord, help us. Old school, back in the day, St. Louis Cardinals had a baseball player by the name of Dizzy Dean.
Yeah.
And he had a brother whose name was Daffy. So he had Dizzy and Daffy Dean. And one time when one of the players made an error, an error on the throw, Dizzy Dean said, man, he chunked it away. And that's what John Morant'S, he's chunking it away, Doc. So, and I've been to Memphis many times.
Yeah.
Doc, there's some great churches in Memphis. Doc, there's tons of people who could serve as a mentor to him. But the problem with that is, he would automatically put his guard up. Is there somebody who just want to get something from me?
Well,
but allegedly, I tell you what, you're not being served by that crew, that what do we call it? My posse.
Entourage.
You know what I'm saying? Entourage, or whatever word we come up with. He's certainly not being served well by the folk he's hanging out with now.
Well, I mean, forgive me again. I don't. My sympathies for Ja are not. They're gone. They're northbound on I-95, headed up somewhere north of Washington D.C. because he's not getting the support system anywhere around, and he's not. Now you take me off the basketball court. If I don't realize the money that I'm missing, I'm 23 years old and I'm probably one of the top 5 players in the league, and you taking me out and I'm sitting out. My team is posturing for the playoffs, pretty well settled at the number 2, and you take me out for what amounted to the last 4 weeks of the season, and you're sitting me down. That's gonna get my attention. I have no addiction to a weapon that's going to supersede just my natural desire to be on the basketball court. If you discount the money, that's what we look at our ages and the opportunities with that. But my mind's not going to be about none of that. I'm saying, man, I can't lose this gift. I guess because I played for nothing. If my daddy said, you're not playing ball tonight, bro, till them grades get straight, you can forget that, or you're not doing this until you take care of what you're supposed to do in this household, or what I told you to do. Thankfully, we never had that one. But if he did, that would be a backbreaker for me. And,
yes.
If you can't think of the money, because in the words of 50 Cent, he ain't a gangster, he's a wankster. the thug community, they don't want him doing that. They saying, man, we would do anything to be able to put these guns down, not have to look over our backs and get the kind of bag that you got without having to be out here struggling in these streets and every day wondering if my name's on an obituary tomorrow. I understand they have really reached out to him. Some of the gang community of Memphis has supposedly reached out to him. But so right now, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not throwing Ja away. I would love to see him back and blessing us with this talent, with the renewed mindset. But I'm not thinking about him until that happens. But I'm saying the onus is on the NBA to help to make that happen. Or if it breaks him, then that's on him, on his parents who helped to blow the money.
Doc, I just hope the brother get it together.
Yeah.
I hope he get it together, Dozell.
I tell you one thing,
because I don't know what the next fine or penalty or whatever is going to be. I know there are people who feel like you. You know, it has to be something that's going to get his attention. And the last little slap on the wrist of 8 games was not it. They didn't do it.
Because he's an international star. In this country, Kim and I talked about this about 4 weeks ago, about the mass shootings. And we didn't get a chance to talk about that clown and that calls himself a governor in Texas. Well, I guess it's a clown state because they elected him overwhelmingly. It's upset because his state was number 2 to another state for the purchase of AR-15 weapons. And then every other week, there's a mass shooting in his state. And all he talks about is mental health. So we didn't get to talk about that. But when you have that proliferation taking place in our nation, and you have a kid that's on the TV screen three times a week and likely twice nationally, and he's burning some guns, something has to be done. And it has to be done quickly and effectively. Well, one thing for sure, nothing has to be done about my friend and I. I appreciate you immensely, my brother. Thank you for joining the dialogue tonight and filling in. I know you're always going to bring it and bring a read up word, a contemporary word, and a word based on a lot of history and a lot of your own life's journey. And thank you so kindly for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for inviting me, man. Listen, I think Robert Frost said the woods are lovely, dark, and deep. And I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. Got a lot of work left to be done, Doc.
Bless you, Doc. Tell our audience, and I don't know if you had a chance to give Madam Producer ahead of time. Tell us about your show and the time and the forums that it could be.
Doc, we're Living in Christ radio broadcast. We broadcast on Mature Life Radio. You can get it on the app, in the app Apple Store or in the Play Store on Google. Again, Mature Life. And we are 6 o'clock each Monday from 6 to 7. And my co-host is Pastor Rashid Baith. And we do what you do here with Dialogue with Dozy. We talk about current issues from a biblical perspective.
Thank you, Doc. I don't know. I try to take ours. I try to widen the gap so for everybody who's not going to think biblically, they can think societally or otherwise. But thank you for sharing that. Listen, next week on the dialogue, we're hoping to have back with us. He's been here a time or two. Calvin Thomas, who spent 40 plus years on death row, on Florida's death row, and was released. It was partly because of some of the affiliation with Kim, my co-host of the show, and he helped him to pen a book saying "I Survived," and he's a great brother, and I just want him to come and talk about. We've talked about the content of the book. I want him to come and talk about the putting the book together, the structuring, the time, the effort. That's hopefully we can pull that together on next week's dialogue. I want Kim to be with us when we do that. Dialogue with Dozell every Monday night, 8 to 9 p.m. As I see it, number one, I was glad to have my friend here tonight. And I think we hit on some great topics, but they won't mean a hill of beans if we don't pull together a think tank and do something to educate our upcoming generation and make up the deficit for what the state of Florida and much of the nation is now refusing to do. So that onus is on me and all of our listeners, people who will see this show later. We've got to be the ones to get this message over to the next generation, that we come from a proud lineage of people that have done amazing things, and you can't cut us out of a curriculum and expect us not to know what we did to further incentivize us to do great things in the future. And also, we're going to see how this Ja Morant situation plays out. But we're saying, don't get caught up on the gun hype. You're bigger and better than that. We'll see you next Monday night. Again, appreciation to my dear brother and my friend, Pastor Anthony Burrell. God bless you all.
Good night.
Good night, all.